There are two primary methods to install a harmonic balancer on a C6 Corvette. One, you can pull the steering rack, or two, you can drop the cradle. Today, we're going to do it using the dropping the cradle method. I'm going to show you exactly, step by step, how to do that. But first, let's get this thing assembled. So let's unbox this thing first and get it assembled. ATI includes some nice stickers, some instructions. I highly recommend reading through those. And here are the bolts, a total of 9. As you can see up close, they seem to have some pre-applied Loctite, but the instructions do call for adding our own Loctite. And these are not a standard T40 Torx bit, but we'll get into that a little later. This is ARP assembly lube. This did not come in the ATI kit. I placed it in the box so I wouldn't forget. I'm using it because my crank bolt is an ARP bolt, and ARP requires their lube to get an accurate torque reading. Now for the damper components, the first piece is the inner hub that interfaces with the crank, and this is the outer shell of the damper which bolts to the hub and completes the unit. And now that everything is unboxed, before we start assembling the damper, there are a couple additional things that we're going to need. First is Loctite 242. This is specifically called out in the instructions. The second thing is the correct driver bit. These bolts are Torx Plus, so you want a TP40 Plus bit. A standard T40 Torx will feel like it fits, but it doesn't fully engage the bolt head the same way, and it's very easy to strip these bolts if you're using a regular T40. So before we start, make sure you have Loctite 242 and a TP40 Plus bit on hand. I'll have both linked in the description. And with those ready, we can move on to the assembly. Now we can install the inner hub to the outer shell. The key here is clocking. You need to line up the dimples so the hub and shell are oriented correctly. There's one dimple on the hub and two dimples on the shell. One's on the outside and the other on the inside. Line those dimples up as you seat the hub into the shell. Once those references are aligned, you know the hub is clocked correctly and you can move on to the hardware. Now these tolerances are extremely tight. And you can see here I had a little bit of trouble actually slipping the hub into the shell. You just have to take your time. In the instructions, it also states if you get the shell on deep enough, you can start 2 bolts to kind of drive the inner bore in. You can see me here just kind of pushing back and forth until it finally slips in. Now we can remove this yellow sticker on the face of the shell. It says a minimum of 9 bolts must be installed, Loctited, and torqued correctly. So that's what we'll do. Next, I'm applying a small amount of blue Loctite 242 to each bolt as called out in the instructions, and starting them by hand just to make sure I'm not cross-threading anything. Now I'm just going to drive the bolts down until they're seated, but I'm not tightening them yet. I'm working in a 180-degree pattern, alternating across the circle. That way the hub and shell pull together evenly and the assembly seats flat instead of cocking to one side. Once all the bolts are seated evenly, now we can move on to final torque. And what's nice is ATI actually prints it on the sticker on the outside of this damper, which is 16 foot-pounds, using a T40 Plus bit. For final torque, you need a way of keeping the damper from rotating. It's only 16 foot-pounds, so you don't need anything crazy. I'm just using a belt wrapped around the damper to kind of counteract it while I torque the bolts. Again, these get torqued to 16 foot-pounds, and I'm working in a 180-degree pattern, and I'm marking them as I go. And now the damper assembly is complete and all the hardware is torqued to spec. This was the easy part, so now let's get it on the car. Before we move on to the car, here are the main tools you're going to need to get this job done. And you can pretty much rent these for free at any nearby auto parts store, but I will link these in the description. First, a pulley puller kit to remove the factory balancer. You're going to need a harmonic balancer installer. Do not try to hammer the new one on. A big ass breaker bar because I was unable to get my impact in there, and a big ass torque wrench that's capable of at least 235 foot-pounds. And finally, a flywheel lock tool. That's what keeps the engine from rotating while you loosen and torque the crank bolt. Once you have these ready, we can start the removal on the car. Obviously, before you do anything, remove your serpentine belt and AC belts. Here's the diagram I used for my car. If you want, you can screenshot it and refer to it later. Step 1 is installing the flywheel lock tool in place of your starter. To remove the starter, take out the two 13mm mounting bolts, then disconnect the electrical connections, remove the main cables from the starter post, and unplug the small pigtail connector. Once the starter is out, we can install the flywheel lock tool. And again, all these specialty tools and parts will all be linked down in the description. To create enough clearance to get the damper out and the new one in, we have to basically free up the front suspension from the cradle. I'm jacking the suspension up from the lower ball joint. This keeps the suspension loaded and supported. First, remove the 2 lower shock mount bolts. So these are 2 bolts that go through the lower control arm that are fastened with a nut on the bottom side. Now you can remove the 4 upper control arm bolts. One important note here, the upper control arm bolts use factory alignment shims. Pay attention to where these shims go and are located as you remove the bolts. Keep them organized by each position so they go back exactly the way that they came out. Here you can see me just zip tying them on one side, and the other I'm just putting the shims on the bolts and threading them back into place just to hold them there. So now with the last A-arm bolt out, kind of support it and let the jack down slowly. As I started lowering the suspension, I noticed the brake hose was going to get stretched. A lot of videos don't mention this, and if you watch closely, you'll actually see people doing this method while their brake hoses are pulled tight. I didn't want to put this kind of stress on the hose, so it's easy enough. I removed the 2 caliper mounting bolts and used the bungee cord to support the caliper on the lower control arm. That keeps the caliper secure and makes sure the brake hose isn't stressed at any point while the suspension is hanging. Next, you'll want to free up the wheel speed sensor harness so it has enough slack while everything's hanging. There are 2 rubber grommet mounts to secure the harness to the lower control arm, held in place with these 2 small U-shaped brackets. Just pop these grommets out and set the harness aside. Just be mindful, on the driver's side the brake hose was rubbing up against the control arm, so I just put a microfiber towel in between there to kind of prevent the chafing. That covers everything we need to disconnect in the wheel wells. Next, we're going to remove the front sway bar. To do that, remove the 2 bushing bracket clamps that hold the sway bar bushings to the cradle. Once those brackets are off, you can work the sway bar out of the way. Now I'm just threading the hardware and the bracket back in its place so I don't lose them. So now that's everything suspension related disconnected from the cradle. There's just a few other things we got to disconnect, including these 2 13mm bolts on this bracket that holds the ABS module. And now this bracket is free from the cradle. This next step is very important. You need to support the engine and the cradle before you go any further. It doesn't matter if you're working on a lift like I am or on the ground. Once you start removing the cradle fasteners, you need proper support in place so nothing shifts or drops unexpectedly. So get your jack stands, get your jacks, make sure you have enough, and make sure you're supporting them properly. For the engine, you want to use a block of wood to kind of spread the load evenly on the oil pan. For the cradle, there are 4 nuts, and I'll show you each location here. Before I took them off, I marked their positions with a paint pen so I can put everything back as close as I possibly can during reassembly. But after doing it, I realized the cradle actually uses locator pins, so it's naturally indexed when it goes back together. Before removing the cradle nuts, we're going to locate the engine mounts. And with the engine properly supported, we're going to remove the 2 nuts on the bottom side of the motor mounts. There's 1 driver's side and 2 passenger side. Now we can begin lowering the cradle. To start, loosen all 4 cradle nuts in a crisscross pattern. That keeps everything lowering evenly and helps prevent the cradle from binding or shifting as it comes down. And you absolutely do not want to use impact tools for this.
Because it could tear it, and then you'll end up taking this whole thing apart just to try to repair this socket that this sits in, because it's kind of like a cage nut, but it's not. It's a captured bolt, and it's probably keyed. That's why you don't have to have a tool on the top here. It's
gotcha.
Inside the rail, so if you damage this and you strip it, it's junk.
As you can see, we've got a long way to go. The main thing we got to get out of the way is that steering rack that's right dead center on that bolt. Gaining some room. Lower your jack, your hoist, or whatever you're using to support the cradle about an inch to start. Ultimately, you want to remove the front 2 cradle nuts completely and leave the rear 2 nuts threaded on by just a few threads. That lets the cradle pivot down in a controlled way while still being engaged in the rear. On the Z06, there's a power steering cooler right in the way of the clearance that we need. To get it out of the way, remove just 2 mounting bolts and carefully swing the cooler aside. Just be mindful not to overstress any lines, any rubber hoses. And now with that swung out of the way, we have enough room to pull the old Harmonic balancer. Now you're ready to break the Harmonic balancer bolt. In my case, it's already an ARP Bolt, which is a 1 1/16 inch 12-point socket. You'll need a long ass breaker bar. Please be careful on jack stands or on a lift. This is a lot of torque to get it off. With the flywheel lock tool installed, use the breaker bar to crack the crank bolt loose, and once it's free, the rest of the bolt typically backs out easily by hand. Quick note here, the factory crank bolt is torque to yield, which means it's not reusable. I recommend replacing it with a new ARP crank bolt. I'll have the exact one I used linked in the description. And now you're ready to pull the balancer off using the pulley puller tool. On the C6, space is extremely tight in this area, so it's very difficult to film exactly how to do this. If you need a close-up of how to do this, there are a ton of good videos that show the same style puller being used with engine outs on a stand. The focus of this video is more C6 specific processes. Once the balancer is fully pulled off the crank, you can work it out of the space and fish the old balancer out.
This is what liquid sealant, pipe sealant does versus Teflon tape or silicone. It doesn't dry and harden, and it sprays all over and makes a mess of your beautiful car, like this. Thanks.
Speaking of shitty shops, if anybody at all can explain this, it would be much appreciated. Here's a side-by-side of the factory balancer next to the ATI Super Damper. On the factory unit, the damping element is typically a bonded rubber isolator, and over time, heat cycles and age can easily degrade this material. The ATI is a performance torsional damper, which is built to control harmonics way more consistently, especially on modified engines that see higher RPM and harder use. So this isn't a power adder, this is simply improving smoothness, reliability, and harmonic control, and also replacing that shitty stock balancer. Before you get rid of that shitty factory balancer, you'll need to transfer that friction washer from it. If you're not keying the crank, you need to reuse this washer during this install. Make sure that the friction washer is clean and dry, no grease, no oil, especially on the mating surfaces. Now we did put a little bit of grease on the inside board just to help it go onto the crank, but just make sure where the washer mates with any surface that it is completely clean and dry. Now per the instructions verbatim, it says, if you are not using a key or pin, you must fill the key slot with some high temp silicone so no oil leaks past the damper bolt washer. Now you can fish the new damper assembly into position and get it aligned on the crank snout. Now you can see in this frame, we left the belt there, but I would highly recommend just getting the belt completely out so it doesn't get in the way when you're pushing the new damper on. Now we can install the damper using the proper installer tool. You never want to hammer this on, and you don't want to use an old bolt to try to pull it into place. The installer tool presses it on smoothly and safely. As you're installing it, watch that it's going on straight and double check that no hoses or lines are getting pinched behind the damper as it seats. Once the damper is fully seated, you can remove the installer tool and start prepping your ARP crank bolt. Quick note on the Z06 with the power steering cooler in this area, it's gonna get bumped into during the process and bend a few fins. It's hard to avoid completely, it just is what it is. Later in the video I'll show you a simple tool that can straighten the fins right back out. Next we'll prep the ARP crank bolt. Per ARP's instructions, apply their fastener loop to the threads and to the underside of the bolt head where it contacts the washer. This lubricant is important because it reduces the friction so your torque value is accurate, therefore giving you a correct clamping load, and you're not getting a false reading from the bolt head dragging against the washer. Next, install the crank bolt and thread it by hand until it seats. Once it's fully hand threaded and seated, you're ready to set up for final torque, which is going to be a whopping 235 foot-pounds. Again, please be careful. Before you torque, make sure the car is properly supported and stable. This fastener takes a lot of torque. You really don't want the car shifting while you're under there. And now your new ATI Super Damper is installed. From here, we can start putting the car back together, starting with the cradle. Raise the cradle back up and tighten the 4 cradle nuts in a crisscross pattern, bringing it up evenly so it doesn't bind. As it comes up, you may need to shimmy the engine slightly to get the motor mounts to line back up with their holes. Take your time here, make small adjustments, keep everything supported, and don't force anything.
So the thing you need to tell them is that on the top, because this wants to get all misaligned when you let it droop, you need to loosen the top motor mount nut just so that the mount wiggles just enough to get you to line back up with your hole. Otherwise you won't get it. That's what I did to make them line up. So if you don't do that, you might fight it a lot harder than you need to.
It's good.
Don't forget to tighten it up when you're done, because you won't be happy with the vibration. Big
shout out to my buddy Tim. He offered all his tools and his time and helped me a lot throughout this job. He's got many years of experience working on the baddest hot rods in the industry. Next, we can torque the cradle nuts to 81 foot-pounds. Next, we can torque the motor mounts to 48 foot-pounds. Next, we can reinstall the starter, set it back into position, and start the 2 mounting bolts by hand first. Then we can torque both bolts to 37 foot-pounds. After that, we can reconnect the electrical connections, install the main power cable back onto the starter post, and tighten it down. Then we can plug in the pigtail harness. And now we can address the bent fins on the power steering cooler. There's a simple tool for this called a fin straightener or a fin comb, and it makes it quick to realign what we bent. It won't be perfect, but it restores airflow and the cooler will still do its job. If you're doing this on a Grand Sport or a Z06, I highly recommend picking one of these up. I'll leave it linked in the description. Again, not perfect, but it'll work. Next, we can reinstall the front sway bar. I'm going to get it back into position and install the bushing brackets, but I'm not fully tightening those bolts yet. You want to final tighten suspension components like this when the car is under load, but we can't do that until the front end is back together and the vehicle is sitting at ride height. So we'll just get these clamps bolted in, not tight, and move on to the front end. Now we can put the front end back together in reverse order it came apart. Reinstall the upper control arm bolts, making sure the factory shims go back in the same locations, and torque those bolts to 48 foot-pounds. Then reinstall the 2 lower shock bolts and torque those to 21 foot-pounds. And finally the caliper bolts, which are 125 foot-pounds. Now we can lower the car back down, and now that it's under load, we can torque the sway bar bushing brackets to 43 foot-pounds. And that's it. Your new ATI damper is now installed. Obviously put the belts back in their place. I'll put the diagram up here again for your reference. One recommendation I strongly suggest before you start lowering the cradle is to disconnect the steering shaft. I didn't do this, and I ran into an issue where my steering wheel position sensor popped out from underneath the dash. That turned into way extra work that I didn't need to do. I had to pull the entire steering column to get that sensor reseated. To avoid this, disconnect the shaft. It's 1 pinch bolt underneath the alternator. You can get to it from the left side of the alternator with a long extension. But before you remove that bolt, make sure the wheels are straight and lock the steering wheel in place so it can't rotate while that shaft is disconnected. And there you have it. If you have any questions at all, leave them down in the comments. I will try to be as proactive as I can with answering them.